you out to get your bread, your cheese, and your coffee every day. They're there every day doing this job, and give them some slack because they have hard lives.
Oh, it's a very hard life, and it's actually funny that you said about that many authentic New Yorkers there, because that's actually the argument that people have even here in Durham, North Carolina, because so many people have been actually moving down here because the cost of living is much cheaper than in places like New York and DC and things of that nature. So a lot of the residents that are from here are like wondering how much of the population is actually tried and true Durhamites, as we call them. So that's actually been that view is seen on both sides. So I've seen a lot of people that have moved here from around, and they're doing a lot of the business development here because, like I said, the cost of living is cheaper. The cost of even doing business here is probably a lot cheaper. So even the business people are moving down here. So folks are looking at these high rises and seeing the gentrification.
That's right.
And wondering about the impact of it on the economy.
Well, that's
and
true.
And you're also right about the whole thing about having that appreciation for the job, because I know friends of mine that are all sometimes they'll complain about certain communities having certain jobs. I'm thinking about like even some of the Latin Americans working in construction and in janitorial fields. But then if you ask those same people if they would do the job, you couldn't pay them to do the job because they don't have they think that it's something that's beyond what they want to do. And they don't even want to learn the skills to do the job, even though some of these people are getting paid much better than some of our professionals. I know I have an uncle who's fighting a lot of health issues right now. He's an older uncle and everything, but he's doing well. He's had several strokes and things of that nature during his life, but his parents had a plumbing company. And so I know how much plumbers can make and how much welders can make and things of that nature. And some of those plumbers and welders make a lot more than even some of our doctors and lawyers do.
Man, oh yeah, they do. You become a master plumber, man, what they call a master plumber, and you achieve that level, you can make a lot of money. I'm sure some of them have some beautiful houses, and stuff. So listen, my mother was one of the first New York City police officers in 1973, to patrol with the men in the NYPD. Right. So she was one of the first women cops, number 6 on the list, I believe, that carried a gun with the men in 1973. So my mother was a civil servant, civil service worker, as a cop. And she was out there on the streets as a woman in 1973 when women didn't want to be out in the streets in those roles. But my mother was a trailblazer that way, and she became a cop. But my point with this is that, everybody in every walk of life, there's all these jobs that people criticize, and there's other things. And listen, being a police officer, it's tough. There's good and there's bad and everything. Hopefully, the bad gets weeded out and shouldn't be on the job in the first place. And the good is on there to do the good that they do, and they maintain the dignity with the job, and they serve the job the way it should be served, and take care of people from every neighborhood, every culture, everybody, and not discriminate and other things. But we know the problems. They're big. They're in every police force around everywhere. And all we can do is hope that the good wins over the bad, and that we can weed it out. Right? My mother was a really good cop. My mother was a great cop. She had everywhere she went. Store owners knew her. People knew her. People from every community knew her. But that's me and my mom. We were like that, But my point with this thing is that there were many times that she went through that job where people, didn't appreciate her for a lot of the things she did for many reasons. But she worked hard, and she did a really hard job. So we have to look at each job as of those types of things. Some people wouldn't even know what it's like to do those types of jobs, Yeah. So until you've been in the role, you can't always speak of it totally,
Right. I want to wrap up the conversation. I want people to know how they can get in touch with you and let you get back to your family and things of that nature. But if you show people how they can get in touch with you and about the time of your next Spin It Social, I think you've got Susan Portnoy on, if I remember correctly, as the next guest. So if you'll tell a little bit about that, and also how they can go and hear those back interviews. Because like I said, I've been to check out all of the ones you've done so far, and they've all been fascinating, and I've really learned a lot and appreciated learning from those and everything. And then the last question, I just was a question of curiosity before you get to that is, one of my other jobs is I've worked in testing, test grading and everything, working with a company called Measurement Incorporated. And we know that one of the other big companies is Kaplan. So I didn't know if Kaplan testing was related to you at all or not.
Mark, I only wish that I was related to the Kaplan testing thing. And I'd be doing something a lot more lucrative than what I'm doing now, probably. Funny, I took that test years ago when I almost went to law school. I took that prep course,
Right.
And it was a great course. I learned a lot. I also learned that I wasn't meant to go to law school. And I was just too creative. I wasn't that type. And you have to read a lot of books for law school. And I was much more into creating stuff and journalism and communications. But anyway, it was a very good course. So no, I'm not related to them. But the other question you had about my guest next week.
The guest next week, and also how folks can reach out to you and spin at socials. Just
right. So my guest next week is Susan Portnoy, and she's a great travel photographer who I envy a lot because she gets to travel the world to many different places, including she's been to Mongolia, the Antarctic several times. All around the world and the country. And she's got a great eye. She has a great feel to the way she takes her pictures, does a lot of nature photography, really skilled photographer and a wonderful person as well. So I'm looking forward to have her on. She came through networking, through Sri. We met at Social Media Weekend and we became friends. And when I knew she was a photographer, I started digging into her work and really appreciating it and liking it. So we kept in touch and we talk a lot. In fact, many times she'll call me up and say, hey, Steph, can you take a look at some of these photos for me? Tell me what you think editorially. Should I pick these three? Should I pick those three? You know, not all the time, but sometimes she'll need help with a certain project. And I love to do that stuff. So sure, I do it. And she's a great person, a great friend. So I'm having her on. Her handle online actually is very interesting. I like her handle. I think she should promote it a lot more. It's called The Insatiable Traveler. I love that name.
I love that name.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So she's a real go-getter. So she's going to be on next week. My show is going to be on Thursday. The 30th, I believe, is Thursday. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
It is.
And it's going to be on. I've been juggling between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. I think I'm going to keep it at 11 for the reason being because of the crisis that New York is going through right now. And I'm glad he supersedes my show and the interest in my show because his is a lot more important. But every week now at either 12 or 1 o'clock, the governor comes on. And he talks about the numbers and he talks about the curve and he talks about the state of New York and many other things, Governor Cuomo. And I'm very happy that people are much more tuning into his talks than mine because he's dealing with something that's a lot more important than I am and more critical right now. So please do listen to the governor over me and help society at large. But if I have it at 11, we don't conflict. So I'm giving the governor his space, and I'm taking my own space at 11 a.m.
And I thought your Governor Cuomo has done a much better job of handling the press and the way of just getting the word out than the person in D.C. has done. I would even argue the same thing with our governor here in North Carolina. We just extended our stay-at-home order a little bit further because he's going to May 8th, so he extended it another 10 days and may even extend it further than that, depending on how things go. But he had not seen enough evidence, even though people in North Carolina are arguing that he needs to open up the economy. And he's like, I have not seen enough evidence of the flattening of the curve, so I'm going to extend it 10 days right now. And he may, like I said, extend it even further. So I've been quite pleased. But like I said, certain governors are doing great things in the way that they're handling things. Other ones I'm not that sure about. And the one in D.C., the lady that's actually, I would think she would be much wiser because she's much older in Las Vegas and actually have a very good friend that lives in Las Vegas, and she's trying to reopen the casinos and everything. And my friend over there has been like, she can reopen them. I don't think I'll be going anytime soon.
Oh, let me tell you, I saw the interview that she did with, I'm not going to get into politics here, but I'll just say that one thing about that one interview. there are some people that should not be doing the jobs they're doing. Let's just leave it at that. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to get trolled, and it's not my domain. But so my guest is Spin It Social. My guest is Susan Portnoy, and her handle online is The Insatiable Traveler, which we'll put up next week on Thursday. And my live stream is on my Facebook page, which is Steffen Spin It Social, one word. So it's STEFFEN, Spin It Social, one word, all together. The reason I'm doing it on my personal page is that I have so many people on my personal page. Once again, I don't want to do it on a brand page and have to build it from scratch that way. I've got, probably 1,500 to 2,000 people that I'm connected to on Facebook. And then once it's out there in public, it gets out to even more. Right. So I'm going to continue to do that. And then starting soon, I'm going to have it streaming to LinkedIn as well.
Okay, cool.
So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to be putting the videos up on YouTube. I started I took out, that's the only social media platform in general that I haven't taken Spin It Social out on. And I did it today.
Okay.
So if I grab that, I'm glad nobody had it. So it'll be on YouTube too eventually. But this Thursday, 11 a.m., on Facebook, on my Facebook page. And then they can reach me on Instagram or anywhere else at the same handle, Spin It Social.
I love that Instagram. I love that you've also used it for your Gmail and everything. People often ask me how I got the handle Blues Radio at Gmail, and I was just fortunate to get it, having one of my other shows being a blues radio show. And like I said, there's all kinds of blues radio DJs, blues musicians. So everybody thought that they would have grabbed it ages ago, but somehow I managed on Gmail to get it and have kept it. So I know how important it is to get something that fits you that also you can lay claim to. So
yeah, I mean, I've laid claim to everything with no extra like numbers, like Spin It Social 1, Spin It Social 10, or whatever. It's Spin It Social on Twitter, Spin It Social on Instagram, Steffen Kaplan on LinkedIn, of course. Spin It Social on YouTube now, and even Spin It Social on Snapchat. But I haven't used Snapchat. So I've done 2 Snapchats, I think. So, the bottom line is that I still have it, and I even have the .com, and I'm putting up a website finally. So even on Medium, the platform Medium.
Yeah, Medium.
I have Spin It Social on there too.
Do you have Spin It Social on TikTok yet?
Oh, and I'm sorry, TikTok I have too.
Okay.
I did my first TikTok about a month ago. I still haven't gotten too much into that. I took this has taken priority, the Spin It Social Hour and live streaming, which I think is the future. But yeah, I've every time something comes out, I don't wait. I've been told this a long time ago. When a platform develops, take out your handle.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense. That's some great advice.
Whether you're going to use it or not, take it out because you never know if you're going to need it.
Yep. And along those lines, and then I know instead of trying to wrap it up, and this is my last question for sure. What advice would you give to people that what advice would you give for both photography and for the whole concept of digital media and things of that nature? You do so much with digital media. So just if you wanted to give our listeners and those that are listening in the playback later on, what advice would you give both in terms of being a photographer and what advice would you give in terms of doing a digital media campaign?
As a photographer, take the picture, worry about editing and everything else later. Don't let things get in your way. Focus, always get the photo. I always told people, when something's going on, pay attention to what's going on. Don't get distracted and get the picture. And also stop worrying about everything. Shoot, edit later, because the chances are you'll nail a good photo and you'll have it. If you procrastinate, you wait, you try to, also with your smartphones, if you're using your smartphones in particular, I teach smartphone photography at libraries all over Bergen County and many other things. Learn your smartphone, learn all the filters, learn all the little things in the settings, all these things that make your life easier so that when the moment comes to get the photo, you're not fiddling around with it and like, oh my God, which setting do I need? No, know the settings, know the filters, know all the little tricks in your camera, because then you're